Hey, shalom, 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 lakam, which is peace unto you all. Hi, Rob Tawab La Thumbs, Achyakam Yawaman Rachagado, Charlotte, which is good evening. This is your brother Yawan from the GMS camp in Charlotte. Nachamatam, Kayah Malakatashabayim Kwara, repent ye for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Lam La La Banawa Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rachak Udashwa Mashanala Zakwanim Nawamalakim Sharachagado, which is all praises to our Father Yahweh, which means he exists. Bahasham, the name Yahweh Shai delivers in double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Want to go into a Hayawam Shal Hadabar, which is Hadabar Shal Hayawam, which is Hadabar as the word, Shal is of, Hayawam is the day or today. So another edition of Hadabar Shal Hayawam, the word of the day, and it's going into Ahsh. All right, I'm gonna get it in the blue letter. All right, it's the word for fire, and it says Ahsh, H784 Ahsh. It says fire, flames, supernatural fire, fire for cooking, roasting, parching. It says altar fire, the Most High's anger, fiery, flaming, hot, burning. All right. It says lightnings, fire of the Most High, heat, splendor. Fire and burning are used in Hebrew to designate any destruction, whether of men or things. All right, so fire essentially has a common meaning, but it does go into like manifold derivatives. All right, so I'm gonna go back. All right, the word again is Ahsh. All right, reading it from the top, it says definition: a fire is made by firmly pressing a wooden rod down. A fire is made by firmly pressing a wooden rod down onto a wooden board and spinning the rod with a bow drill. Wood dust is generated from the two woods rubbing together and is heated by the friction, creating a small ember in the dust. Small tinder is then placed on the ember and is blown, ignited the fire, or igniting the tinder. The pictograph alap represents strength. The shah is a picture of teeth and imply pressing as one does with teeth to chew food. Combine these pictures mean a strong pressing down, you see, because I represent strength and our teeth. In order to like eat some food, we have to strongly press down to break down that food, So when we put these two words together, ultimately to create fire, all right, this is what the word fire goes back to, is a strong pressing down. How they taught us in school, they be like, oh, to make friction or whatever, you'll take your hands and like rub them together, and then like after doing that, it would essentially you would smell the like a heat sensation pretty much. So in order to make a fire, it's Ah and Shah. You put those two letters together and you get Ahsh. All right, man. Ah is Ah again is strong. Shah again, to reiterate, is Shan, which are the teeth. So a strong pressing down, and ultimately to make fire. So it says Ahsh, fire, the phenomenon of combustion manifested by heat, light, and flame. Relationship to root, the pressing of wood together with a fire drill to produce fire through friction. And pretty much this process up here is they'll have a wooden board, say it's on the ground, then they have something shaped like a bow, and they'll take like a string. It'll be a string, and then they'll have a stick, or you could take a stick, all right, and you'll twist it around. You'll twist it around the stick, the bow with the string, and it'll be in the shape of a bow drill. And pretty much you will hold, in your left hand you'll hold the stick, right hand to hold the bow drill, and you move the bow back and forth, and it'll rub into that wood at the bottom, and just doing that, it will make a fire. And then basically what it's saying is that by placing different embers at the bottom, it ignites. Like if you put cotton, or if you put like some type of chaff, or like some type of embering, something that is easily flammable, that will ultimately make that fire. So that's that strong pressing down. So reading it again. It says the phenomenon of combustion manifested by heat, light, and flame, the pressing of wood together with a fire drill to produce fire through friction. And it says edenics, which edenics goes back to the study of words. So this is ultimately where they get the word for ashes, where they get the word for ashtray. Ashtray, people in the world, they smoke. So they'll put the cigarettes or whatever, whatever they smoke into an ashtray, you see, because essentially where they got that word ash is from the byproduct of a fire. You know, it's not the actual fire itself, but it's the byproduct. Essentially, what the fire creates is ashes. You know, but in Hebrew, that word specifically will go back to ash. All right. So I'm gonna get a couple precepts out of one to Zaza Banaya Paulo with this is a beautiful edification through the spirit. All right, we're going into the word for fire, Ash. All right, so we'll get Yaramya, Jeremiah chapter 5, we'll get verse 14, and it says, wherefore thus saith the Lord power of hosts, because ye speak this word, behold, I will make my words in thy mouth fire, and this people wood, and it shall devour them. All right. And ultimately, what does a fire do? You know, a fire burns, it has a light, you see, but then if it was putting in the reference to like with trees, all right, a worldly example in trees, you know, that fire essentially consumes those trees. You know, it destroys, it devours. All right, so putting that back in the spiritual sense, all right, by the word being likened unto fire, all right, those that's not on the correct side of the word, they're being consumed by this word, all right, because this word entails a prophecy, all right, and essentially it's devouring the plans of the people, all right, while the men of the Lord are essentially comfortable, all right, with the will of the Lord, whatever the Lord is doing in the earth. Those that's not on the correct side of the word, essentially they will be consumed and devoured, all right, by this word, all right. Hence 2/3 Esau, Edom, all right, the rest of the heathen. They are essentially they're in a chokehold from this word. They are being destroyed and consumed by this word, all right. So nevertheless, let's get this. Let's get Mashal Yah Proverbs chapter 26, and we'll get verse 20. And it says, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. Because we got the definition for fire. Ash, it says a fire is made by firmly pressing a wooden rod down onto a wooden board and spinning the rod with a bow drill. Wood dust is generated from the two woods rubbing together and is heated by the friction, creating a small ember in the dust. Small tinder is then placed on the ember and is blown, igniting the fire. The pictograph alat represents strength. The shan is a picture of the teeth and imply pressing as one with the teeth to chew food. Combine these pictures mean a strong pressing down. All right. So going to this, Proverbs 26 and 20, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So if you don't have something that is going to aid the fire gonna go out. If you don't even have if you don't have that wooden board as we got in the definition, it's just gonna be the bow drill, that string, and then it's just gonna be a stick in the middle. And it's while that stick, it will get wore down, and it'll cause some type of a little bit of heat from the friction by rubbing it onto another surface, but it's not gonna create a fire unless it has that wood at the bottom. All right. So going back, Proverbs 26 and 20, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. All right, and the scriptures say, I'm gonna get this real fast and come back to that. This is Hosea Hawashai chapter 12. We'll get verse 10. And it says, I have also spoken by the prophets, and I have multiplied visions, and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. So a similitude is taking the characteristics of one thing and putting it as a picture, as a reflection to another. So essentially, they parallel one another. So going back to Proverbs 26 and verse 20, and it says, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. All right, so that wood is essentially what helps that fire to go. So it says, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, all right, that talebearer would be a parallel. It will be likened unto that wood. The strife ceaseth. All right, so essentially, by taking away a talebearer from a situation, all right, it essentially, it will make that fire go out. All right, that strife will be the fire. All right, so let's get Isaiah chapter, and actually I want to go back to Jeremiah 5 and 14, or just I'm gonna go back to that real fast. It's Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 14, and it says, wherefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, because ye speak this word, behold, I will make my words in thy mouth fire, and this people wood, and it shall devour them. All right, and again, this word devours. Now I want to get two examples of that. I'm gonna get Jeremiah chapter 30, and we'll get verse 27. Salat. Or excuse me, Isaiah. This is Isaiah 30 and verse 27. And it says, behold, the name of the Lord cometh from far, burning with his anger, and the burden thereof is heavy. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue as a and his tongue a devouring fire. All right. I'm gonna read it again from the top, Isaiah 30 and 27. Behold, the name of the Lord, behold, the name of the Lord cometh from far, burning with his anger, and the burden thereof is heavy. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue as a devouring fire. All right. And what comes from the tongue, the words. All right, words come from, the Lord's mouth, so essentially it's consuming, again, the people, all right, that's not on the correct side of the Lord. So I'm gonna also get this, just get an example. We'll get 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4, and it says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. So if it was an item in front of a fire and that fire reached it, essentially the fire will bring it down to the ground. So essentially this word is bringing down them strongholds, all right, as a fire would with that object. It's tearing down them strongholds, and essentially because a stronghold is where someone wants to hide. All right, it's taking down that wall that Esau Edom is hiding behind. All right, i.e. Christianity, i.e. his lifestyles, and it's showing them to be no avail, and it's exposing. A fire exposes what something is truly made of, and this is what this word is doing to the people. All right, so let's also get Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 29, just going into that subject, that topic. It's Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 29, and it says, is not my word like as a fire, saith the Lord, and like a hammer that breaketh the rock in pieces. So a hammer, if you had a rock, a diamond has to be conquered. You gotta conquer a diamond. You can't just throw it on the ground and it crack. You gotta take a hammer and beat it. So, and by beating that rock, essentially you can see what all the characteristics and whatever was inside that structure. You can see what it was made of. All right, so going back to this right here, Jeremiah 23 and 29, is not my word like as a fire, saith the Lord, and like a hammer that breaketh the rock in pieces. Essentially a fire is going to show what a object is made of. When you take silver or gold, all right, and you put it through the fire, you take it through that process, you essentially see if that's a good piece of silver or gold. You see what it's made of. Same as what the Lord is doing with us. The Lord likened the elect as gold tried in the fire. So that fire, an actual fire, and taking actual silver and gold, you can see what something is made of, and essentially that's why the elect is likened to that, those choice pieces of silver and choice pieces of gold, those precious metals you see, because ultimately the elect are going to be put to the test and pass the test. But I'm gonna get one more, and that'll be it. This is Hebrews. I bar y'all chapter 4, and we'll get verse 12, and it says, for the word of the Most High is quick and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and as a discerner of thoughts and intents of the heart. All right, so this word is likened unto water. This word is likened unto a sword. This word is likened unto true food, true nourishment. All right, and it's also likened unto to fire. All right, and going back to his precept right here, Hebrews, chapter 4 and verse 12, for the word of the Most High is quick and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and as a discerner of thoughts and intents of the heart. This word ultimately will tell what side of the spectrum someone is on. All right, and which this word can cut us as well. That's why we have to be cognizant and essentially make sure that we're making the correct steps and in a spirit of constant repentance. But those that where this word is brought out, all right, and whatever they're saying, or whatever's being said to them, if they feel some type of way about it, essentially from the response, or the statements made, that essentially this word will essentially show someone's true character, and essentially what they have on their mind, all right, and where they and lie. All right, just for example, like if a so-called Christian felt a certain type of way about a certain specific subject, you know, it will be shown, all right, in their speech, you know. But yeah, just wanted to go into, you know, again, Hadabar Hayawam, or another Hadabar Shal Hayawam, the word of the day. Again, it was Ahsh, which is a strong pressing, which again that goes into a fire. So you know, Adawan Tazaza Banaya Apollos, where there's a beautiful edification through the spirit. Wadawan Tazah Atam Yashlai Lata Wablo as well. You have a good night. Washalam Lakam, which is peace and tiwa. Shalom, shalom.